Spanish ladies, farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain, for we've received orders to sail for old England, but we hope in a short time to see you again.
Getting DINGY out on the water has proven to be impossible, so I'm going to take the dinghy out instead.
We'll roar like true heights of oak until we strike soundings in the channel of.
Well, here I am, out on the water finally, still in the marina, talking to a camera, which is always a good look. But yeah, I wanted to take the dinghy out one last time. I've been here in California for about a month and have just been working on one project after another, and was only actually able to get the sailboat out once, but I'll get into that a little bit later. First thing I want to do is just kind of update you, or update the channel rather, on all the projects that I've completed on this trip. I made a list earlier. Let's see if I can pull it out of my pocket. All right, I got a list here of all the different things I've done on this trip. Starting at the back of the boat, I changed out the stern running light. There was a running light there before, but wasn't really totally sure whether or not it was working or not, and just wanted something brighter and newer. So I ordered something on Amazon and threw on a new stern running light. I think if anything, it's probably a little bit too bright. Kicks a lot of light back into the cockpit area, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Maybe I'll blacken out one side of it or something like that so it's not as bright shining back towards the cockpit. But that got done. Then I wired in a dimmer switch into the spreader lights, which I'd wired up the last time, well, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago now, with the help of my friend when I went up the mast. Yeah, so I changed out those lights and I put in these new LED lights, but they were super bright, and so when you had it on, it was only on and off. When you had it on, it just kind of like, it was just too bright for it to be useful for anything. So I decided to wire in a dimmer switch onto those lights so you could go super bright or you could go super dim, and that worked out. Moving on into the inside of the boat, I finished the little side table. I added the flip out table so that I can sit comfortably next to the fireplace and still, you know, eat a meal or use my laptop or have something in front of me, which has been really useful. And it folds down out of the way. You can still get around it if you need to get around it real quick to go to the bathroom or whatever. So really happy with that. The next thing I did was I added a USB like outlet, 3 amp outlet, so it's a high voltage USB outlet on the actual center console itself, so I can power my tablet, my phone, charge up the camera batteries and all that stuff from right there in the center of the boat. So that was cool. That worked. What else? Oh, so on the last trip I was out here, I spent a lot of time on redoing the bathroom. So ripping out the old nasty system and putting in a composting toilet. Oh shit, got people coming here. I don't want to talk on camera when people are coming. Oh, they're going the wrong way. They're going elsewhere. Okay, so yeah, they're going out into the bay like I am. So where was I? Oh, the composting toilet. So yeah, the last trip I was on, I came out here and I ripped out the old toilet system, which was a plumbed in kind of like pump out, old-fashioned something or other that never worked right, always smelled. It was just a gross system. So I ripped it out, and it took a long time, but I found a replacement kind of like composting head thing, composting lid, composting insert. I don't know what you call it, but it's this thing that you basically separates the urine and the number twos. So yeah, anyway, the toilet, I tested it out. I redid the vent fan. I redid a few things with the actual plumbing just to get it just right, and it's working great. I really like the toilet addition. Here's my toilet. What else did I do? Okay, so I added a second solar charge controller. I've had one charge controller going. Oh, we got some current here. Slowed right down. We're still moving though. Yeah, this may not be a good idea. Anyway, there's a pretty strong current. But anyway, we're gonna test out this little motor, see how it does. I do have safety equipment with me if shit goes sideways. So anyway, so where was I on my list? Second solar charge controller. Okay, so yeah, I had a single charge controller for the back panels going into the main kind of house battery system, and I've had that for over a year now. It's been working great. But then I added these other 2 panels that I had lying around. Those stayed there, but they weren't actually hooked up. You can't hook up different kinds of solar panels to the same battery or solar charge controller. They have to be exactly the same voltage. Yeah, so basically I got another second solar charge controller, smaller, very cheap, less than 50 bucks, and wired those 2 separate, those other panels that are on top of the actual Dodger separately into the house system. Oh, I replaced the bilge pump. So basically I ordered a new bilge pump, an automatic bilge pump this time, so it has a little trigger in there. If there is any water in the bilge, theoretically the bilge pump will turn on, pump it out. Yeah, couldn't be happier about that little remedy. So I replaced the house battery and the engine battery, which we'll get into later. There's been all kinds of trouble with the motor, which is why I am filming this in a dinghy and not on a sailboat. Oh, I rewired this whole trolling motor setup. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I try not to crash. Yeah, this little trolling motor that I'm using right now, it is my 24 volt. It's an 86 pound thrust Newport trolling motor that I got off of Amazon for approximately 300 bucks. I basically jerry-rigged it to run on my tool batteries. So the same tool batteries that I use for all my Ryobi tools. They're 18 volt rechargeable brick batteries. I don't know what you want to call them, but basically I put 2 of those together and put them in this little white box back here and run a speed controller through it, and then runs that up through the actual motor, and I have a rechargeable battery pack for my little motor here. Some airplane noise. And it's been working great. I love it. I also painted it white just because I thought that the black box was a little bit, was going to get a little too warm out here in the sunshine, so I painted that white to keep it nice and cool. And I've just been really, really happy with this whole setup. It's super simple. I'll put a link to some of the parts and stuff in the description below, because it really is a great setup for pushing a little dinghy. Right now we're doing about 2 knots. We've gone maybe a half a mile away from the boat. I know that I have about 2 miles range, so... Oh, I installed a 1,000 watt power inverter. So basically it takes 12 volts and kicks it up to my 110, which I need to use to either charge my electric bike, which has been awesome. Love that thing. Or to run my laptop computer when I'm doing editing and stuff like this, so it takes a lot of power. Okay, also it says I bought a new frying pan. I did buy a new frying pan, a really big one with a lid on it, which has been really great for cooking. And what else happened? And then it says, on my list here, it says shit that didn't work out. So I installed a $500 cell signal booster. It's called a WeBoost, I believe, an overground WeBoost. And it was like 500 and change on Amazon. And it was a complete waste of money. There's been no noticeable difference of cell coverage in the marina, and that's what I was trying to remedy essentially, is I was getting really sporadic and weak cell signal coverage in the marina, which makes the internet kind of difficult and other things. So I was trying to solve that problem, and I spent $500 confidently thinking that this was going to solve all my problems, and it didn't solve all my problems. Didn't solve any of my problems. I don't know. I'm going to hang on to it. It just took so long to actually run it all throughout the boat, and maybe it'll work better when I'm out and about. And I don't know. Maybe that's it. I don't know. So I'm going to hold on to it and see what happens. But as of right now, not really happy with the WeBoost. And then the other thing that didn't work out. Oh. It's like the main thing. The main thing on this trip has been trying to fix the engine. My engine developed a leak, a dripping leak that was noticeable. You could see it, and there was quite a bit of oil gathering in the bilge. While I was away, I had somebody come down and take a look at it and actually remove the oil pan off the bottom of the engine, and then reorder some gaskets that will go between the pan and the engine. That was theoretically going to solve the problem, but then the guy who did the work wasn't around, and I was here and really wanted to go out sailing, so I figured it out on my own with some help from a friend, and put a new gasket in there, tightened it up to the best of my ability. It was a really difficult job, really difficult to work on, because it's just like the bolts are in the back of the engine, and you're just, I don't know, it was very uncomfortable, very difficult to do. Have no idea if I did it quite right. Apparently I didn't do it quite right. I took the boat out maybe 2 days ago now for the first time basically on this trip, because I've been working on all these other projects and working on the engine. Finally I had everything to where it was functioning, leaking a bit, but functioning, and I decided to go out for a sail. And so I also decided not to film it because I was so kind of nervous about sailing again. I just wanted to focus on just sailing and not worrying about cameras and all this other business. So I went out and I left the marina. Everything was fine. The engine was running fine. It was doing about 1,000 RPMs and about 2-3 knots, about as fast as I'm going now, kind of slow. And as soon as I got outside of those gates that we just came out of, I gave it a bit of gas, or diesel, because I wanted to kind of test it out and see how it was doing. Got it up to 3,000 RPMs. It ran fine for a minute or two, but then it just sputtered and died quite suddenly, like just cough, cough, dead. And I was literally, I'm about right where I am now. I don't know if you can see in the background, but I'm about 50 yards from the gate back there where you come out of the Oyster Point Marina. And interestingly enough, just like it is today, the wind was blowing directly from the east, so it's blowing straight into my face right now. So blowing me back towards the marina and land and a pier and a bunch of rocks and a whole bunch of headaches over there, right? So I came out of the marina. I got about as far as I am right now, and the motor died, and the wind is blowing me back that way, and the current's taking me that way. So it's not looking good. And I had kind of like a serious, this is probably one of the most terrifying moments I've had. I mean, it was a beautiful day and it was pretty calm, but still I knew that if I didn't do anything that I was going to end up on a lee shore, and that was like, I don't know, that's like the worst case scenario as far as I can tell. Basically what I did is I panicked for about five seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds, contemplated whether or not I should call Sea Tow, wondered whether or not they'd even be able to get to me in time, and then decided that the best course of action was to actually get the sails up. And there was a bit of wind. There was maybe, I don't know, 7-8 knots of wind, and I knew that if I could get some sail up and I could get her pointed in the right direction, that would give me a bit of time to figure it out. So that's what I did. I threw up the head sail first. Seemed like the easiest thing to do. Got her pointing in the right direction, away from land, and then worked on the head sail, or the mainsail rather, and managed to get that up too. And I went along for a few minutes, and everything was great. I didn't really need the motor at that point because it was just a beautiful, flat, calm day with just a bit of breeze, and it was perfect for sailing. But I decided that it was probably better off, and I think it's probably better off now if I turn around, go back in, because I'm way out here. Let me check this. I'm just going to check the GPS here. Yeah, it says I've done 0.8 nautical miles. I am just going to let the motor rest for a second and finish my camera work here. Like coming out here in the bay where no one's around except for airplanes. But I decided to be pragmatic and safety conscious and safety first and all that noise instead, and I turned around immediately and went back to the slip space where I tried to recreate the actual circumstance. So I got into the slip, no problems. I tied her off, and then I put her back in gear, and I revved it up to 3,000 RPMs again. And for a minute it was fine, and then after, I would say, maybe two minutes of you know, high RPMs, it sounded like a bit of friction was involved, and then again it would just sputter and die out. I have a feeling that it's something to do with the actual main shaft. Perhaps like the bearings are gone or something. I don't know if they're called bearings, but like in the shaft where it's coming out of the boat. Maybe those are old and they're getting hot at the higher RPMs, and then it's seizing the shaft. But if it is that, it means the motor, I mean, I can use it at lower RPMs, I suppose, and it seems fine. But it's highly, I don't know, that's super sketch to go out in the water and not know whether or not your motor is going to work or not. Just seems not like a wise move. You know, it's been super frustrating this trip. Like, I really wanted to get out and do as much sailing as possible. It's so pretty out here, and the weather's been like a clock. Every day it'll start blowing at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so there's really good conditions, and I wanted to be out sailing and exploring San Francisco Bay, but instead I've just been stuck on all these different projects. I did accomplish a lot. I got a lot of little things done that I needed to get done, but the big kicker, you know, towards the end of my stay here was that the engine is not reliable at all, and needs some serious work if it's going to become reliable. Yeah, what's the plan, man? Am I going to spend probably close to $3,000 or $4,000, maybe even $5,000 to get this engine rehauled, and I'd have to take the boat out of the water if it is the bearings and the shaft and whatnot? Or, which I'm not a big fan of, I don't like the idea of like spending any money on this engine at all. It's such an antiquated old system, and it, you know, it's poorly fit into the actual boat itself. It's, I don't know, smelly, it's leaky. It's just not a fun piece of equipment to fiddle with. And yeah, I think instead of putting any more money into that old diesel engine, I am going to try and figure out how to mount 2 of these 24-volt trolling motors to the back of DINGY, and using those as basically, like, you know, beefy trolling motors that will get me up to approximately 5 miles an hour, maybe 5 knots if I'm lucky, and also be controllable so that when you're in a marina, you'll be able to, you know, turn and pivot the actual thrust vector or thrust direction of the motor itself. So hopefully it would make the boat that much more maneuverable. Up until now, I've been basically stuck in marinas, whether it's stuck up in Bodega Bay or now stuck here at Oyster Point, for various reasons. And that's not why I got into this whole concept. I didn't want to just get stuck in one place. So yeah, I'm really excited to eventually take that old diesel out of the boat completely, to actually plug the hole where the shaft was completely, and remove the propeller so that she's just perfectly slippery on the bottom when you're actually sailing. I think that'll be a huge benefit as well. Again, with motors that you can pull up and out of the water, it just seems like the way to go. So, you know, the trick will be to actually get it done in a way where these motors don't look absolutely obnoxious, like stuck to the side of your sailboat. So I've got a plan. We'll get into that later. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. Like I said before, there'll be some information in the actual description if you're interested in any of these gadgets or things. You can get them on Amazon like I did, and if you buy them through those links, you're actually helping me out, which is awesome. I haven't been posting that many videos. I've been so wrapped up in a million little projects, none of which I thought were that film-worthy. And of course, this whole move across the country with my dad and whatnot. So there's just haven't been a whole lot of time to make sailing video content. But I hope to change that, especially coming up in the new year. As long as America is still around in 2025, I hope to make a ton of videos then. So anyway, thanks again for checking in. Thanks for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe and all the other stuff. Super appreciate that. Even though I don't post that often, I do read all the comments, and I try to answer all the comments. So thanks again for that, and I'll see you in the next video.